Jacksonville moved on without you. The locals know this, and now you will too. So if locals don't use it, guess what? It doesn't make this video. Everyone assumes they know Jacksonville, Florida. You've got beaches, you've got sprawl, and then you've got traffic. That one spot they take friends to when they're in town, awesome. That version of Jacksonville is already outdated. The loud opinions are behind. The lived experience is not. New spots are opening. Old areas are finally clicking. Parts of town that used to feel forgettable suddenly feel legit. And if you've caught asking yourself, wait, why does this actually feel good now? You're not crazy. You're just paying attention. I noticed it the first time I watched people linger on the Riverwalk after sunset instead of rushing back to their cars. Here's the real talk. Jacksonville doesn't change with fireworks or billboards. It changes in the day-to-day. Where you walk, where you hang out, where weekends stop needing a plan. And in 2026, when the shift becomes impossible to ignore, these are the spots changing how this city feels to live. This isn't tourist junk. It's not hype. Real places locals are using. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are a little sneaky. The real question, though, is this. Are you living in the new Jacksonville already? Or are you still stuck in the old one without realizing it? This isn't coming from headlines or press releases. It's coming from being out in the city and watching how people actually move. A few years ago, downtown was somewhere you went for something and then you left. You parked, you did the thing, and then you bounced. Lately, that rhythm has changed. Families hang around longer, couples walk without checking the time, you hear music drifting instead of engines revving, especially around sunset. People aren't rushing back to their cars like the city's about to shut down. That's when you realize something bigger is happening. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's real. That's when the city gives itself away. When people stop escaping a place and start lingering it, the city has officially changed. These are the kinds of spots you don't just visit once, you accidentally build your routine around. You don't go to these places. You just end up there. Downtown Jacksonville didn't just get nicer, it got usable. For a long time, it was transactional. Again, you parked your car, you came whatever it was here to do, and then you quickly went to your car and then you left. No what now energy. But that pattern is finally broke. Let's start with the Riverfront Plaza, phase 1, right along the North Bank, a few minutes from the Performing Arts Center. This isn't a monument park you walk once and then you forget. It's active. You've got a playground that's actually busy, an event lawn that turns random weeknights into something people stumble into, Riverwalk connections that finally feel continuous instead of chopped up. Around the golden hour, you'll see joggers looping back past Friendship Fountain, parents posted up with coffee at nearby cafes, kids sprinting between play areas, and people staying longer than they planned while the river breeze cuts the heat. That is the tell. Right next to it sits the Music Heritage Garden, opening alongside the plaza. This isn't a plaque and pass-by setup. It's interactive. You've got cultural. It quietly reminds people that Jacksonville's music history isn't trivia. It's in the identity. More importantly, it gives families and visitors another reason to slow down instead of treating downtown like a pit stop. Cities don't feel alive when the movement is chopped up. They feel alive when all the different paths connect. Here's the part most people miss. Downtown only works once it hits critical mass. Around 9,000 residents living in the core is when daily use spaces will finally start clicking. Jacksonville is there. There's over $6 billion in downtown projects completed, under construction, or fully funded. With thousands of residential units delivered or landing by 2026, this isn't speculation anymore. It's already operational. Weekends in Jacksonville used to need planning. Now they just happen. And that shift isn't coming from downtown. It's coming from lifestyle districts that learned how to stack life without effort. Riverside and Avondale run on loop logic now. You got Saturday mornings bleed into afternoons without a single decision point. Coffee on St. John's Avenue quietly turns into Riverside Arts Market. A long walk under oak canopies stretches longer than expected. Dinner shows without a plan. No watch checking, no car hopping, just flow by late morning. You hear live music drifting out of storefronts, bike chains clinking past, dogs pulling their owners towards whatever smells good next. San Marco carries the same idea with a different tempo. You park once near San Marco Square and you're done. Brunch stretches, kids loop the fountain, date nights don't feel rushed. San Marco lives on repeat. 5 Points refuses to smooth itself out. It stays gritty, eclectic, and a little unpredictable on purpose. Vintage shops sit next to tattoo parlors, next to bars that ignore the clock. You smell espresso, catch bass lines through the open doors, and overhear conversations you weren't meant to hear. It's not trying to be for everyone, and that's exactly why it works. Districts with strong identity consistently outperform generic ones in foot traffic and loyalty. People don't wander into 5 Points by accident. They choose it. Brooklyn is quietly becoming the wild card. Around the stretch near Unity Plaza, nights stack up fast. Coffee turns into cocktails, dinners turn into desserts without moving your car. That kind of friction-free pattern is why lifestyle districts outperform novelty spots over time. Here's where that matters for anyone relocating or tracking value. When weekends stop requiring logistics, buyers stop prioritizing square footage, start paying for proximity. Data across Sunbelt Metro shows this. People willingly will trade 10 to 15% less space for neighborhoods that let life stack naturally. Jacksonville is now playing the same game. Drop your take in the comments. Are you Riverside Energy, San Marco Calm, or 5 Points Chaos? I read all the comments. Jacksonville's weather has always been good. That wasn't the problem. The problem was friction. You needed a reason, a plan, a window. Now the city's quietly removing excuses. When paths stop breaking, behavior changes. People don't just go for a walk, they layer it into their day. You'll catch runners doubling back instead of turning around. Parents stretching stroller laps longer than planned. Couples killing time before dinner just because the route feels complete. Riverfront Plaza adds another piece. Open lawns don't just host events, they invite lingering. Playgrounds don't just entertain kids, they anchor adults in place. Research on urban parks shows spaces with both active and passive zones see nearly double the dwell time compared to single-use parks. Trails matter too. The Jacksonville Baldwin Rail Trail and connected multi-use paths aren't flashy, but they're sticky. Long shaded stretches turn movements into habit. Data from similar Sunbelt trail systems shows residents living near connected trails are 40% more likely to exercise multiple times per week. That's not a fitness stat, that's a lifestyle statistic. It changes mornings, evenings, and mental bandwidth. If you've ever felt the city change, but couldn't explain it, well, this might be why. Cities don't change all at once, but they change in gradual layers. First, the days get easier. Then the nights stop feeling so rushed. And that's the ripple most people miss. During daylight hours, these areas will feel functional. People moving, kids out, coffee cups, joggers, errands stacked without friction. It's just normal life. But hang around after sunset and something shifts. It's definitely not chaos. It's not nightlife for the sake of nightlife. It's something calmer. It's confident. After dark, places that used to empty out now soften instead of shutting down. Riverfront Plaza hums instead of clearing around 7:30 near the North Bank, stretch by Friendship Fountain. Footsteps replace engines. Low conversation carries. Music floats just enough to notice. Lights bounce off the river. People sit instead of scatter. The city exhales. These are not the nightclub crowds. These are couples, families, friends, stretching a walk into dinner. On top of that, planning studies show perceived safety increases by roughly 25 to 30% in public places where foot traffic stays consistent after dark. That's the difference between a place that hosts nightlife and one that supports it. Mixed-use districts with residential density keep 30% more people out on the street after dark than single-use zones. That's safety, that's comfort. It's confidence. Districts that hold daytime energy don't need manufactured nightlife. It arrives all on its own. Here's the line that sticks. When a city feels good during the day, it earns your nights. That ripple will change everything. How safe areas feel, how often people go out, how much money stays local, how livable a place actually is once the sun goes down. And when day and night finally stop feeling like two different cities, people stop chasing what's new and start caring about what actually fits their life. The fastest way to get disappointed in Jacksonville is by chasing what's shiny instead of what's usable for you. People see a headline, a ribbon cutting, a flashy render. Suddenly, everyone's talking about the same place. But new doesn't automatically mean livable. And it definitely doesn't mean it'll still feel good 6 months later When the novelty wears off, here's the trap. Most people evaluate spots like tourists. They show up once on a perfect night, maybe during an event, with nowhere else to be. Of course it feels like electric. But real life doesn't happen on opening weekends. It happens on random Tuesdays. After work, before dinner, when you're tired and still want it to feel easy. Here's the line people remember. If a place only works when it's new, it won't work when it's yours. And here's the corrective truth most people miss. Livability beats novelty every single week of the year. I've watched buyers make this mistake in real time. They fall for the newest pocket because it feels exciting on paper. Then they realize everything they love requires planning, driving, or waiting for the right night. Contrast that with neighborhoods where you can step outside at 6:15, hear life happening, smell food drifting from nearby kitchens, and join in without any effort. These spots don't need hype and they age well. And here's a real question, and I want you to drop it down in the comments. Are you chasing what's new or choosing what actually fits how you live? Because once you stop chasing shine, your focus sharpens fast. Here's the part nobody announces out loud. These new spots don't just change weekends. They rewrite the mental map of where people picture themselves living. Because housing decisions aren't made with spreadsheets. They're made with routines, with feelings, with that moment when someone says, I could see myself doing this every day. Watch how it actually plays out. People start hanging around places like Riverside, San Marco, or the North Bank stretches near Riverfront Plaza without meaning to. Then they start checking listings nearby just to see. Not because prices dropped, not because a blog told them to, but because life feels easier there. Homes near daily use districts move about 20% faster once buyers have already built routines in the area, not for flash, but for flow. Here's the line that sums it up. People don't move for houses, they move for how it feels between them. That's the quiet power of these new spots. They don't scream for your attention, they change behavior. And behavior always moves before the market headlines ever catch up. Nobody moves to Jacksonville for the small stuff, and then the small stuff ends up being the reason they stay. These are the wins people don't put on lists. They're the ones you don't notice until they start stacking up, and suddenly life feels lighter. It's realizing your weekday errands don't eat an entire afternoon anymore. Parking doesn't feel like you're in the middle of a negotiation. Grocery runs that turn into quick walks because you're already outside. You step out after work and it still feels like part of the day, not the end of it. That shift alone changes how evenings land. Research on daily mobility backs this feeling. When people cut just 10 to 15 minutes off routine trips, reported stress drops and weekday satisfaction rises noticeably. Layer onto that another stat people miss. Households that reduce car trips by even 2 per week report higher weekday energy and lower burnout within the first year. That's not a happiness statistic, that's a quality of life statistic. Jacksonville lets life stretch without demanding intensity. You can still be social without committing, outside without performing, around people without feeling crowded. These wins don't scream for attention, they compound. A little more time, a little less stress, a few extra moments outside. Once a year, that adds up to dozens of reclaimed hours without even trying to optimize your life at all. Let me know in the comments. Are you closer now, or are you still undecided? And that's exactly where we bring this home, because understanding these quiet wins is what separates people who feel settled here from the people who always feel like they're still searching. Jacksonville doesn't reward people who wait and then they guess. It rewards people who understand how the city actually can work. The real risk isn't moving too fast, it's drifting, sitting back while routines form. Neighborhoods lock in and momentum quietly settles around you. It's not dramatic, just how cities move. You've seen this pattern. New spots people actually use. Districts where weekends don't need planning. Outdoor upgrades that turn good weather into a habit. Everyday wins that make life feel just a little bit lighter. That's what pulling people closer and reshaping where they want to live before the headlines catch up. I've watched it click with people we've helped. Someone swore they needed more space, then realized everything felt better closer in. Another stopped chasing the next area once the best days kept happening in the same few pockets. Clarity always comes from living it, not from guessing about it. If you're thinking about moving to Jacksonville or relocating within the city, don't overthink it solo. We're the local Jacksonville real estate team of choice, and we help people line up lifestyle with location every single week. You can call us, text us, email us, or just download our relocation guide. Or just scan the QR code and click on the link in the comments. It's packed with info we have put together after working with relocating buyers for years. Before you bounce, queue up one of our playlists. It breaks down the neighborhoods and vibes that actually fit real life, so you're not guessing your next move. I appreciate you hanging out with me, and I will catch you on the next one.